What does moral purpose mean for you?
Moral purpose is essentially what I think all good Australian schools have already, but it is focusing on the child, focusing on the student outwards, and it is knowing that the child within your school or your class doesn't just belong to you, it belongs to the school, and then it actually belongs to the network, which belongs to the bigger system. So moral purpose is always making sure that the decisions that are made within the school are our responsibility to look after the kids first and make sure they're getting what they need in their education to improve all student outcomes across the system.
One of the strengths of the system we visited in the London Challenge was the strong belief in moral purpose. That stemmed right from government into classrooms and everywhere in between. You could see that there was a moral purpose in every classroom and every school we visited. The belief that every child could improve their educational outcomes, and the fact that the system had put a lot of resourcing into improving the outcomes of all students to improve the quality of life of all students. That strong moral purpose resonated in every classroom visit, listening to academics. On our whole fortnight, moral purpose was a driving factor in the improvement of education for students throughout the London Challenge.
Discuss what we learnt about the moral imperative in London. I guess for me that really came across all of the schools and all of the presenters that we heard and saw. Everybody talked about their moral imperative, their moral purpose of why they're doing it, but not just for the kids in their classroom, for the kids in the classroom next door, for the kids in the whole school, for the kids in the school down the road, in the borough, whatever it might be. And they really did believe it. They talked about it. It was evident in what they did. So I thought that was really interesting. It was part of the teacher learning process. It was part of teacher training. It's part of becoming a head teacher, that you talk about the moral imperative, that you learn about it, that you put it into practice. So it was really wonderful to see that, and I think we have that here in New South Wales, but I don't know if we talk about it explicitly. I don't know if we teach our teachers about it. I don't know if we extend it beyond our classroom or our school. So that would be really something to take back and think about, and already is starting to change the way that I interact with my neighbouring schools and support system in my area.
And that real sense of moral purpose that we saw there,
Yes.
Was an accountability to a degree, that every person in every school was responsible for every student in every school across London, not just in their school, the school they led, or as Adele, the schools they were leading, but across the system as a whole.
And I think one of the key messages that came out, particularly from a couple of the head teachers, was what's that, do you really understand the vision of your school? Is it really clear? Can you articulate it as the principal? Can your staff articulate it? What about your school community? And so already I've come back to my school and, we looked at a simple exercise of saying, well, what is our school vision? Can anyone actually articulate it? And unfortunately, it was sort of quite a challenging process where, it was too wordy, it wasn't clear, we couldn't articulate it. So we've spent some time really bringing it back. And so then that, again, in London, everything was that, does it fit the focus? Does it fit the vision? If it doesn't, why are we doing that? And already we've begun that process in just my reflection in where the school's headed in our last year of our school plan and the evaluations that'll take place over the year.
I think the key takeaways for me during that time were that shared moral purpose, and not only were we as New South Wales principals connected through that shared moral purpose of really wanting to do the best thing for our kids and kids in New South Wales. Everywhere you went in London, that key message came through, whether it was from academics, whether it was from educators. Everywhere you went, it was very clear that they shared the same moral purpose and that relentless focus on learning. So I think for me, coming back home, ensuring that learning is always my priority, and that I think personally the kids are always my priority, but it's beyond just my school. It's the kids in your school and all New South Wales public school students as well.
I think that we were privileged enough to be chosen to go on this experience, and as a collective group we saw some great things happening within London schools. We also saw things that made our system stand out as one of the best in the world, and they're the things that we'll bring back and share with our colleagues.
Thanks, guys.
Yay!